Hi everyone, welcome back to Secrets of MicroPython. I realized I did so many tutorials on MicroPython so far, making all kinds of project hacks and home hacks, but I never taught how to actually install MicroPython. And the reason I really want to teach it is because I've discovered there's actually two ways to do it, one of which is easier and one of which is more advanced but more scriptable. And also, I want to focus on the ESP32 because that is the most popular microcontroller and the cheapest one and the most powerful one. Like it's just, in my opinion, my favorite. However, the first installation method I do teach you will be applicable to other microcontrollers as well. So if you have a different microcontroller, the first half will be helpful to you. Please check it out. It's a really cool tip. So the first method of installing MicroPython actually involves using the Thonny editor. So the Thonny, if you don't have it, is like my favorite MicroPython IDE. It has all the features you need for MicroPython. And a new thing I discovered is it actually has the feature to install MicroPython without using all the scripts that you have to use otherwise. So just open up the Thonny editor, go to Tools and Options, and you want to go to the Interpreter tab, which is the second tab, and then over here, select the interpreter for your device. My device is this generic ESP32W room, but maybe you have a Raspberry Pi Pico or some other RP2040 based device, or BBC Microbit, or an older ESP8266, whatever you have. There's quite a few options here. So I'm going to go ahead and select mine. And once you select that, on the bottom right over here, you're going to find a hyperlink, which is not really a hyperlink actually, it just looks like a hyperlink, but it opens up a window where you can set all the settings for your device to be able to flash it with MicroPython. So first off, select the serial port for your device. On Mac OS, it usually looks something like cu.usb serial something something for ESP32 specifically. Maybe it'll be a little bit different for you, but the idea is you should be able to select it here. Like it's definitely not going to be debug console or Bluetooth earphones or whatever. Like don't choose anything else. Next up, you want to choose your MicroPython family. So this is where ESP32 gets a little interesting. There's a lot of different options for ESP32, and what they all represent is the different chips that Espressif has made. So in my case, I just have the kind of first version of the ESP32 chip, the W room that Espressif has. So I'm just going to choose that for me. But maybe you have one of the newer chips, like they've come up with so many more now, the S3, the C2, the C6. So if you have one of those on your board, you want to select that instead of ESP32. So I'm going to choose that. And then next option is the variant. So the variant is more like kind of the which board are you using? Like are you using a board from LilyGo or from M5 or from Unexpected Maker? Like there's all these different manufacturers. If you're not sure, if you don't really have one of these boards, just again choose the default option. Last one is which version of MicroPython do you want? So this is kind of a slight con of installing using Thonny that I've noticed. They only really have the last two versions of MicroPython, and then they have like a preview of the next version. In my day-to-day, it doesn't matter too much. I just install the latest, which in this case is 1.24 when I'm making this video. But for some reason, if you have an older project or you have a project you know it works only on older MicroPython and you want to duplicate it, it might not be available for you here. So next thing you want to do is click install. It does take a while. It takes maybe like 1 or 2 minutes for me. So I'm just going to fast forward. Okay, and it is done. So we're going to go ahead and close that. And what you can do to confirm that it works real quick, just click the stop restart button up there in Thonny. And then bam, MicroPython 1.24. You did it. You installed it. Good job. Okay, and actually the other thing you want to confirm is it's the correct version for your device, which I've always found to be the case, but just to check. Okay, so that's the first method using Thonny. The other method is using the command line, which is the official instructions on the MicroPython website. But again, I'm going to walk you through it so I can help maybe decide which version to use, which variant to use, and so on. So the first thing you want to do is go to the MicroPython official downloads website. That's micropython.org/download. And then these are all the ports available at the top. So we're just going to go with ESP32 right there. And then even over here, you have a lot of different options. Like maybe you have an Arduino Nano ESP32. or maybe you have an ESP3266 or an S3 or the generic one. Like, you have to decide. You may even have one of these special products by these companies. So if you have that, yeah, your best bet is just to download that version, and that will probably make your life the easiest. But if you don't have any of these specific products, I recommend just going for the generic chip name that matches the chip that you have. So in my case, I have the W-Room ESP32, so I'm going to go for that. And then there's going to be a lot of text and information. The main thing I would say that you need to focus on is two things over here, okay? The first is the installation instructions section, which shows you how to erase the board and how to flash it. And the second is the download section for which firmware you want to actually download and install. For the most part, you will want to choose a firmware from this list over here. And again, I like to choose the latest one, but you do have the option to go all the way back to version 1.12, which is from all the way back in 2019. So whatever you need for your particular project. However, there's one exception to using this, and this is if you have a board that has extra RAM on it, which is called PS RAM or SPI RAM. There's quite a few ESP32 boards out there you can buy which have like an extra 4 megabytes or extra 8 megabytes of RAM, which gives you a lot more space to run more code modules or like have bigger kind of dependencies in your code. And if you have that and you want to take advantage of it in your hardware, scroll to the bottom and choose firmware support for SPI RAM, okay? And for example, the ESP32W rover has that. And then you'll be selecting a firmware image from here instead of the one from above. In my case, my board doesn't actually have any additional PS RAM or SPI RAM that I know of. So I'm just gonna go to the top and select this firmware release. And I'm gonna download it into a folder which I download all my MicroPythons into. And then the next thing you wanna do is open up a terminal and cd into that folder, and you should be able to find your MicroPython version over there that you just downloaded. Now to install this, there's two steps. One, you want to erase your board if this is the first time you're installing MicroPython. So I'm just going to pretend this is my first time installing MicroPython ever, and I'm going to erase the board. So this is just kind of like a one-time thing you want to do. But before we do that, actually, interestingly, it uses a tool called esptool.py. Now, if this is your first time doing this, you probably don't have esptool.py on your computer. So what you want to do is install that first. And the best way that I've found for installing it is using a tool called pipx. So you go pipx install esptool. I will say this is very similar to using pip, like pip install esptool, which is what the official instructions say. But I highly recommend don't use pip, use pipx, because if you use pip, what's going to happen is it installs the package in your global Python package space. And that might seem like not a big deal, but I've had situations, and many people have had situations where they install a package and it installs in a corrupt way, or it has a dependency on some other package that is not solvable in the global space. And so it just completely messes up the Python on their computer. And it's very, very hard to recover from without, basically in my case, I had to like nuke everything and wipe all my data and restart my computer, which was terrible. So I recommend like do not install packages in your global Python space. Install it in an isolated Python package space using something like pipx, which is similar to how like npx works if you know like JavaScript and Node.js. Pipx itself is installable easily from the internet using like brew install pipx. So I'm not going to go into that, but it's very simple. So anyway, all that being said, let's install ESP tool. For me, it's already installed. So, but for you, it will go through the installation process. Once you have that, now you want to go back to what we were doing, which, like I said over here, is flashing or erasing the flash rather of the microcontroller. And oops, let's copy that again. So it's going to automatically find your ESP32, which is great. Make sure you only have one connected to your computer, because if you have two, it will just randomly choose one and flash that one. So make sure you just only have the one that you really want to be connected. Okay, so flash has been erased, which is great. The way you can confirm that, I guess, is if you go to Thonny and you click stop restart up here, you notice that we just see a bunch of errors. So we don't really see that it has MicroPython on it anymore because everything just got wiped. Okay, so leave Thonny, come back here. Now we want to flash our MicroPython version. For that, we're going to use the flashing command, and we're going to put the name of our own MicroPython image that we downloaded here. So for me, that was this one, version 1.24. And again, it automatically found my device. Great. It's installing it. One thing you'll notice here, it's installing it pretty fast, a lot faster than Thonny, for which I was just staring at my computer for like 2 minutes straight. This one is pretty much halfway done already, so I'm just going to fast forward till it's fully done. Okay, fantastic. So it is installed. Again, there's a couple of ways to verify this. The first, if you want to know the command line way of verifying it, there's a very cool MicroPython tool called mpremote. And if you type that, again, it's easier to install using pipx. And then once you do that, as you can see, it said MicroPython 1.24. Fantastic, it works. And you can even like run some code, which would be great. Yeah, boom. Okay, so that's one. And then the other one is, we can just go back to Thonny and you can check over there. So you're gonna go click stop restart up here. You see it loads up and we have MicroPython 1.24 for generic ESP32. Fantastic. Okay, what are the advantages? Like, why would you want to do the command line method? One, it can give you the ability to install any version of MicroPython, even like really, really old ones if you really need it. And two, since it's on the command line, it's actually scriptable. So if you're doing some kind of larger scale project where you're trying to flash lots of microcontrollers, like make your own products or run some kind of test station, it's much better to use the command line method because, you know, it gives you the ability to script things and like customize exactly how the flashing process goes for all your different devices. And actually three, which is the one I briefly touched on earlier, it is much faster than Thonny, which seems to take like 2 minutes to flash a single device. Okay, I hope that was all helpful to you. Especially for me, the Thonny flashing method was helpful. I never knew about that feature, so I thought it was pretty cool. I hope it was cool to you as well. I do make a lot of videos and even blog post versions of every video. So if you are interested in learning more MicroPython or learning more embedded software, or if you have any questions for me and you want to talk to me, please do subscribe to this video or comment on it. Or if you would prefer reading a written version, you can subscribe to my blog, which I will link in the description below. And that's it for today. Thank you for watching and see you next time on Secrets of MicroPython. Bye-bye.